भगवान श्री योगी रामसुरतकुमार की सर्वं योगी रामसुरतकुमारार्पणमस्तु। We have been blessed by Bhagwan to be able to sing for one more hour together right at the holy feet of Bhagwan. How could this be small grace? We could have found 100 excuses not to be here, not to be able to sing, to get so busy with this and that, and say, we could not come. That we are able to be here, to be able to sing. What grace, what a blessing. Let us submit our grateful pranams at the holy lotus feet of Bhagwan. Nothing could happen without grace. Grace is the foundation of all. Bhagwan used to say, even to be able to close your eyes, you need the grace of God. And to be able to open it again, you need grace, obviously. To be able to breathe, the out-breath, should it come back, grace is necessary. Otherwise, this body is nothing. It becomes mere matter. I remember once how it happened in Sudama. Of course, I have narrated it before, but sometimes it helps to recall, to reminisce again and again, so that the point will sink into the depths of the being, that we would never forget that. Repetition is also power, and that's why we repeat the name again and again, until it sinks into the depths of our being and sublimates into the divine. So Bhagwan asked us to chant the name all the time. So I wanted to do it. In Bhagwan's case, it happened. Papa Ramdas gave this instruction that you should chant the name all the 24 hours. And Bhagwan described it later on as Rama Bhana, the killer arrow that went and hit the right spot, the depths, that he could not help it. He went on and on and on, day and night, with no thought for food or sleep. It happened. Whereas here, for people, the ordinary mortals, we have to try hard. We have to exercise effort and practice. So here I was, trying to keep my eyes open the whole night, chanting. And there were heavy attacks of sleep now and then. But I somehow managed. I would do some gimmicks and kept myself busy and active. And somehow I managed to pull on till 4 o'clock in the morning. And when Bhagwan was seated in his seat in the veranda, I ran to him with excitement. I said, Bhagwan, I stayed up late. I stayed up till 4 o'clock, chanting the name, and I've completed 20,000 namas. So jubilantly, joyfully, ecstatically I said that. For me it was a great achievement against all those attacks of sleep. And here I was expecting Bhagwan to blossom forth, to give at least a smile in approval, in appreciation. But all that I saw on his face was frown. He frowned. And he made gestures with his hands as though it was no use. My staying up the whole night, chanting. The hard struggle. All that because I wanted to report to Bhagwan first thing in the morning that I had achieved it. But when Bhagwan gestured that it was no use, you can imagine the shock that I went through. I was quite shaken. And he saw the question in my eyes. And then he softened and said, Devaki, you said you were doing it the whole night. Do you think that you could do it? It's my father who made you do it. Give the credit where it is due. And that's when I understood my mistake. But I could never forget this, that it's Father who is making us do everything. The very breathing, the opening and closing of eyes, the function of the nose, in protecting, in regulating the breath. Everything. When you imagine the body, the whole body with all its parts, can you find one part of the body which is useless, which has no purpose? Everything, the whole designing of the body is so perfect. You cannot do without any part of the body. Such is the power, the intelligence, the supreme power of the divine. So nothing could possibly happen without this grace. I learnt it unforgettably that day. So here, and Bhagwan had gone on to say that money and time spent on this beggar would never go waste. They will only multiply. The money that we are able to spend at all in his cause is grace. The time that we are able to give at all for remembering him His grace. Now, as a demonstration, I came across the story. One Seshadri from Salem had written. He says that he went over to Tiruvannamalai, to Sannadi Street House. He had 2 rupees. He bought some sugar candies and took them inside, prostrated before Bhagwan and kept it at his feet. When Bhagwan asked him to sit down, he did. And then he was thinking, my God, I have got only sugar candies and only for 2 rupees. He felt a little bad. But then Bhagwan called him and said, will you break these sugar candies into pieces and distribute here to everyone? He was very happy, and then he did exactly the way Bhagwan said, Bhagwan expected. And then after that, Bhagwan called him near, blessed him nicely and said, you will get, when you go back, you will get 2 jobs. And then after that, it's only progress. But you must do both the jobs well, Bhagwan said. Of course, Seshadri was very happy, surprised but happy. And then he went back. After his visit to Bhagwan, he got 2 orders from SAIL. This is what he says, a company. One order was for 1,08,000 and the other was for 18,000. He had never had such order. It was high order for more than 1 lakh. He never had it before. It was always small amounts, but now here it was more than 1 lakh. And then he knew instantly it was Bhagwan's grace. He had only 2 rupees and he bought some sugar candies. Bhagwan made it big. Bhagwan asked him to break it into pieces and distribute to everyone there. And how you see the 2 rupees paid back. He got an order for more than 1 lakh. In those days, it was I think 1980 or something, 82 or something. It was that early. In those days, it was quite an amount. So money and time spent on Bhagwan will not go waste, it will only multiply. This is what Seshadri of Salem says. Once a couple had come from Chennai and they were complaining to Bhagwan that their relatives were very indifferent to them, and if they paid attention at all, it was only to humiliate them, to abuse them. They made fun of them, and they were very, very hurt by all that, and they did not know how to handle this. So when they came to Bhagwan, they reported, said how everybody, all those close relatives, were rejecting them, humiliating and all. Then Bhagwan said, oh, don't worry, this beggar is with you. It doesn't matter how your relatives treat you. You have come to this beggar is with you. You don't bother. And then he said, he added, this beggar is with you all the time. This beggar comes to you when you call out. But then one thing about you people, you quarrel and then you start complaining, you start blaming this beggar for everything. You start scolding this beggar, blaming this beggar. It's okay when you call, this beggar would come running, But then when you start blaming this beggar for your own mistakes, how could this beggar be with you? And they were shocked to hear it because they were doing exactly that. It is very common among the devotees. As long as things go well, we would say, oh, it's Bhagwan's grace, by Bhagwan's grace everything was happening, it's so wonderful, wonderful, this and that. But once something begins to go wrong, immediately we say, oh Bhagwan, why are you testing us like this? Why are you giving me this suffering? Can't you see? Don't you have pity? And then we go about telling people, see Bhagwan, what Bhagwan has done. He's doing this and that. It is very natural. It shows our mindset, at what level our mind is. But then Bhagwan says this, you have to keep on praising. You know, the children and God, they will be drawn only to people who appreciate them, who admire them, who celebrate their presence. You remember, some time back, I think 2 or 3 days back, we saw one story where there was a woodcutter, how he was praising the Lord all the time, no matter what happened to him. How grateful he was to God, no matter what happened to him. If you remember, he was cutting wood and selling, and he was making his living out of that. And then, when that was forbidden by the king of the kingdom, he resorted to a cobbler's work, repairing the chappals, the slippers. He was still very happy. It did not matter. He was thinking that if one door was closed, another door opened. He was very happy. He was still praising the Lord. He was still very grateful to the Lord. And again, that was also forbidden by the king deliberately, because the king wanted to disarm him. This man took to repairing the umbrellas and made a meager money out of it, but he was very happy, he was content. And he was praising the Lord. He was very grateful to the Lord. What a beautiful point that the woodcutter makes. Despite his poverty, despite all the discomforts, he could only praise the Lord, he could only be grateful to him. He saw grace in everything. He was content. So like that, here when Bhagwan says, you depend upon me, you come to me, you take refuge at my feet, and this beggar is ready to come to you at your bidding. But if you start quarreling with this beggar, start blaming this beggar for everything, for all your misfortunes, which come because of your own karmas. You have invited them. Each one has invited their sufferings on their own, by their own karmas. God made a rule, and the rule is working. The relentless law of karma is working all the time. How could you blame God? So Bhagwan is saying, do not blame me, do not abuse me. Then this beggar cannot be with you. And then what happens? The sufferings multiply. When we abuse God, when we blame Him for everything, then our sufferings multiply, our sorrows multiply. If you spend money and time on Him, money and time will multiply. If you blame God for everything, then only the sufferings will multiply. This is what we understand. This beggar cannot stay with you people. This is what Bhagwan said. And then I came across the story. Srimati Rajeshwari of Rajapalayam says that once she had gone to see Bhagwan at Chennai Street House. With her, her sister-in-law had come. And with them, her brother's son had come. The child was unable to speak. It was dumb, which was a point of constant sorrow for the little boy's parents. So when they appealed to Bhagwan's grace, Bhagwan said, this little boy's name was Babu. Bhagwan began to call him, Babu, Babu. The boy kept quiet. And again Bhagwan said, Babu, Babu. The boy simply looked at him, not knowing what to do, how to say, what to say. And then the third time, and then the fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, 10th time. Bhagwan would not give up. He went on and on. Babu, Babu, speak up. Bhagwan did not say speak up, but that's what it meant. And when he finished his 10th turn, Babu, Babu, Enna Swami, what Swami? The boy said, very clearly, pronounced very clearly for everybody to hear, to the wonder, delight, ecstasy of the boy's parents and people around. So this is grace again. Grace had worked in this situation this way. But the grace doesn't have to work the same way in every situation. I remember several years back, maybe 8 years or something, a devotee had come here and he was saying, when he was taking leave with tears, he said, Amma, my grandson, my granddaughter is not speaking. By Bhagwan's grace we got her, but you see, she is not able to speak. I didn't know how to handle it when he said that. I said, I will pray to Bhagwan. You keep chanting and praying. I will also keep chanting and praying. Bhagwan will definitely do something. And then I had an orange. I had just taken it from the shrine and was going towards the dining hall. I saw this orange in my hand and something made me say, you please take this orange and give it to your granddaughter. This is prasad of Bhagwan. This is very precious. This is straight from the shrine. Please give it. You peel it off and give it to your granddaughter. By Bhagwan's grace, Bhagwan will see to the rest. Bhagwan will do something. And I believe when he did that, after going there, he peeled the orange and gave those sections to the little girl. The little girl started to speak. We do not know the same Bhagwan, same grace, but it works in different ways, in different situations. Aburvam Amma, she told me this morning a delightful story. Not exactly delightful, but then when you think of, you can listen to it yourself. Once Bhagwan was going from Tiruvannamalai to a nearby village. So he boarded the bus, and when the conductor came and asked for money, he had the money but it was 5 paisa less. Then the conductor became very rude to him and said, "You give me all the money or you get out." And then he stopped the bus, asked Bhagwan to get out. Bhagwan didn't say anything. He got down very quietly and was standing there. The bus would have gone a few yards further, and then one of the tires of the bus burst out. The bus had to stop. The bus could not go ahead. One of the tires burst out. And then she said, when the bus conductor and the driver, they realized their mistake, and then when the next bus came, they saw to it that Bhagwan boarded it, and then it went off smoothly. Nothing untoward happened. But one thing, none of the passengers were injured. Nothing happened to the passengers, including the driver and conductor. The conductor was rude to him. But the bus, because it did not carry Bhagwan, it dropped him halfway. It could not run further. This could happen to us also. If we are rude to Bhagwan, then our life may also come to a stop. We have to be very, very careful with great masters. You would never know what they would say next, what they would do next. And it's a great blessing to come across a realized master in one's life. It is greater blessing to be able to be with him, and the greatest blessing is to serve him, that he should permit you to serve him and serving him to his satisfaction. So, we see in all these incidents how the grace worked in different ways, in different situations. So one thing is very clear, no matter what happens in our life, be it good or bad, know that we have invited them by our own karmas, and these great masters have come only to bless us, to give us relief from the sorrows of life. So we have to keep on praising them. We have to be grateful to them. We have to call out and not blame them for anything. And we also know whatever you give, whatever you offer to Bhagwan, wholeheartedly, soulfully, will multiply, will come back multiplied. Now that Bhagwan is here right in front of us. Let us submit our today's prayers at his holy feet. Bhagwan, we demand